What's up, investors? It's the Russian dude. I have a question, guys. Don't you also feel like that we haven't heard anything from Kadyrov for a very long time? The person who was obsessed with TikTok and online presence in general in the past, now suddenly disappeared from public eye completely and, well, stays quiet. What happened? Where is Ramzan Kadyrov and what is he doing? Because usually, when there is a huge chaos going around, some people decide to take an opportunity and achieve something great for themselves, while the big boss is not watching. And we all know that Kadyrov's second biggest obsession right after the Chinese social media is his personal army, which grew to tens of thousands of people, if not more since its inception. Does he have any plans to use it? Against who? These are some very interesting questions. So, let's talk about them in today's video. The foundation of Kadyrov's guard dates back to the era of his father, Ahmad Kadyrov, the first Chechen president. Initially, these so-called Kadyrovцы emerged as a force made out of ex-separatist militants who swapped allegiances when they realized that there was more to gain from Moscow than from independence. But it does not end here. Some people are hungry for power and influence, but many of them will never cross the line which affects their family members. Many of them, but not all of them. And let me tell you what, it is a wild world in the highest echelons of power inside Chechnya. People are ready to do anything and risk everything to get as close to the top as possible. Ahmad Kadyrov died in 2004, but it took only days for Ramzan to seize the momentum and become Putin's new favorite candidate for Chechnya's presidency. There are unconfirmed but very logical rumors that Ramzan himself had to do something with his father's elimination, but obviously we will never know for sure. After all, Ramzan became incredibly wealthy and influential after there was no more his father in sight. He literally stepped out of his shadow. He inherited not just his father's aura, but also the men who had sworn oaths of loyalty. During a grand gathering in the village of Tsernatoy, Ramzan openly demonstrated the scope of his influence, reminding everyone that he had thousands of fighters at his fingertips, all ready to pledge their lives to him. It was a statement of force. He was young, daring, ambitious, and fully backed by the Kremlin. Over the following years, Kadyrov systematically eliminated rivals, targeted dissenters, and absorbed every other potential paramilitary group into his empire of Spetsnaz and special police units. By the mid-2000s, any Chechen commander who dared to stand against him would be crushed or conveniently disappear. Step by step, Kadyrov became the absolute ruler of Chechnya, his own sultanate, with an entire army that reported to him and him only. With Russia's invasion of Ukraine, that same army exploded in size. What used to be a formidable regional force became something else altogether. A coalition of specialized regiments, battalions, and volunteer units that fought under the same banner, Ahmad. Kadyrov seized the moment. Since the whole country was preoccupied with the war, no one in Moscow was going to raise eyebrows at Chechnya forming even more regiments, each stacked with well-armed loyalists. But here's the twist. These Kadyrovцы units are stationed in Chechnya more often than they are on the front lines. In propaganda videos, you will see them chanting "Ahmad is strong", "Ahmad Sila" in Russian, or filming themselves in brand new uniforms, but you rarely see them in actual large-scale combat. If they do fight, it is often in low-risk missions or rear-guard activities. There were even reports that they were assigned the role of barrier troops, to eliminate those cowardly Russians who decided to run away from the combat. And of course, countless TikToks were filmed along the way, shooting bushes, climbing trees, dancing, capturing fresh-looking prisoners of war with just a hint of ketchup to make it look like they were forcefully taken. And meanwhile, a separate group of volunteers, most of them not Chechen at all, end up on the battlefield. In other words, Kadyrov's personal Chechen forces stay relatively uninvolved while recruits from all across Russia handle the dirtiest work, sometimes paying the ultimate price. And for many of those volunteers, it is not about patriotism or religious fervor. It's about a short contract, a decent paycheck, and a glimmer of hope that they can survive long enough to cash out. And don't forget that in Russia you can sign a military contract and erase your entire criminal history. This gives Chechens almost ultimate power and the feeling of lawlessness. Do whatever you want, just do not get caught. And if you are caught, sign a contract, get accepted into Kadyrovtsi, sit in a trench while smoking hookah and drinking tea, shoot some retreating Russians from time to time like you're in some sort of shooting range. And well, that's pretty much it. What a paradise of a military service. As a result, more and more people started joining Kadyrov's forces. Some were forced to do it, but as you can see, they don't mind it. Others were there voluntarily, and the rest were mobilized by the regime of Kadyrov. All of them joined this personal army of Ramzan. The army who does not participate much in real combats, so they don't lose many people, if anyone at all. And still, billions of rubles are funded into this army every year. They have the most recent military equipment and vehicles, while Russians fight in 80-year-old tanks. They receive the same contract sign-up bonuses and monthly salaries, which are in tens of thousands of dollars. But they don't nearly go through the same level of risk as Russian soldiers. So the temptation for even more Chechens to join is huge. Almost sounds like once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to get rich quick just by leaving your signature on a piece of paper. And for some people, it really is. This could be precisely the reason why Kadyrov got so quiet recently. He saw how many people want to join his ranks and suddenly, very ambitious ideas started visiting his mind. What to do with all this force? All the expenses are paid, the uniform is new, the weapons are working, and the vehicles are driving. While regular Chechens are tempted by the money they are offered, Kadyrov, it seems, is tempted by something very, very different. So how exactly is all this financed? To maintain his rapidly growing war machine, Kadyrov taps into both federal funding and local quote-unquote donations. Federal ministries officially oversee many of his regiments, meaning Moscow covers most of the costs. But that's just part of the puzzle. There's also the Ahmad Kadyrov Foundation, officially created for, guess what, charity. But known to bankroll everything from mercenaries to shiny new uniforms. The problem is that official records on the foundation's income don't align with the billions of rubles it is supposedly funneling into the war effort. And yet, Kadyrov rarely loses sleep over this. Chechnya's economy, after all, runs on its own rules. Rules that revolve around funneling money from state contracts and local businesses straight into projects that strengthen his grip on the republic. Sometimes these projects involve building extravagant training centers for so-called Spetsnaz universities, where new recruits get just enough preparation to be thrown in the battle. But the war economy does not stop at Chechnya's borders. Occupied Ukrainian territories have become huge money-making opportunities. Kadyrov's men, or those linked closely to them, have picked up former Ukrainian businesses, steel plants, gas producers, agribusinesses, all of this. Anything that can be snatched and resold across Russia. These people might shout religious slogans in front of the cameras, but don't be fooled. It is not about faith or even loyalty to Russia. It is a raw appetite for profit and power. Everyone sees what Kadyrov was able to achieve. Everyone dreams to be exactly like him, or at least to taste a small drop of all this enormous power. In the newly seized regions, Kadyrov's people swarm in under the banner of liberation, only to turn around and register companies under their names left and right, effectively confiscating local assets. They strip factories for metal, steel, industrial equipment, and claim farmland. While they present themselves as heroic liberators, always repeating Ahmad Sila, Ahmad Strong, they're quietly becoming overlords in territories that never invited them. Perhaps the most revealing twist is how often Kadyrov's top commanders stay far from any real fighting. These men, revered by the Chechen propaganda machine, prefer to show off themselves on banned social media platforms, post rich lifestyle pictures from Grozny, or dress up for carefully orchestrated quote-unquote reviews, where they line up thousands of Chechen troops for Ramzan's inspection. And each time, these crowds grow bigger and bigger, no surprise here. Only occasionally do they appear at the front lines, and even then, it is often more about filming an impressive clip for their fans back home. Because as soon as there is a real danger, well, they cannot do much. You might probably remember a photo of one of Kadyrov's Chechen who got captured as a prisoner of war, wearing Stefano Ricci jacket costing several thousand euros. That's most certainly a combat-worthy outfit to wear in trenches knee-deep in mud and water. On the other hand, the soldiers drawn from all over Russia are left to hold valuable positions on the actual battlefield. But they are frequently outgunned and lacking equipment, because guess where it all goes? That's right, some very expensive props to shoot a TikTok video. So, what do we have is tens of thousands of equipped to the teeth Chechen soldiers loyal to Kadyrov and only to Kadyrov. Tens of thousands of men who desire wealth, power, and maybe something more. Something natural. Something what their ancestors fought for. What Russians took away from them with the arrival of pro-Kremlin regime. The main question of the video is what Kadyrov is planning to do with all this military power. Will he use them, and if so, where? Chechnya always kinda wanted independence, you know. Kadyrov has more than enough money and power. Could it be the dreams of achieving the former glory of Chechnya? Will Kadyrov be able to finally fulfill the Chechen dream of independence, ironically sponsored by Putin? Because there is no real loyalty, let's be honest, between Kadyrov and Putin. They are of a very different religions, and Kadyrov can and will take as much money as Putin offers him. The problem for Putin is that he does not care where Ramzan spends this money. Palaces, yachts, hundreds of cars and guns made out of gold is nothing. Putin does not care about these things, as he shouldn't. But what he should definitely be at least concerned about is that billions of rubles go towards sponsoring and equipping the army of another region, previously devastated by 2 wars against Russians who destroyed their neighborhoods and killed their relatives and friends. No amount of money can push out the desire for revenge, but at the same time, will they even be able to fight? Because they don't have any combat experience. The Chechen army looks a lot like North Korean army, and we all know what happened with them as soon as they joined the fight against Ukrainians. But still, the fact is the fact. The numbers of Kadyrovцы is rising. The money keeps flowing with no request to report back on how this money is being used. And you can only get a knife in your back from your supposed ally. Has Kadyrov been pretending all these years that he is a friend of Putin, and just waiting for the right moment to strike back when Putin is at his weakest point? Sounds like a major plot twist that you would normally see in a TV show, right? But isn't Putin living in his own, carefully created reality that has nothing to do with the real world? The time will soon tell. Well, there you have it, guys. If you enjoyed today's episode, please subscribe to my channel for more videos like this. If you wish to support my work, there are links down below, such as, for example, Patreon memberships, where you'll be getting hundreds of uncensored photos and videos from Ukraine every single week, and also get these episodes in early access with additional chapter in the end. Thank you guys so much for watching, and see you on Tuesday.
We won't succumb to their tricks, the facade they try to sell. Their twisted words and feeble claims on us all they cannot quell. We see through their lies, their feeble attempts to sway. We do not believe in what they